Hello, and welcome to today's episode of The Daily Blend. I'm your host, AC, and we are joined in studio today by Kerry Townsend, who is the executive director of the Unbound Book Festival. How are you, Kerry?
I'm good. So good to be here. Thanks for
It
having
is
me.
good to have you back. Hard to believe. It's been a
Yeah,
year.
it's been a year. Yeah,
It's been a year.
exciting.
Okay, so tell us what's happening with this year's Unbound.
Well, this year's book festival is April 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. So our keynote is April 17th with the author Terry Tempest Williams. Tickets were just made available yesterday. So if you're interested, you can go to the unboundbookfestival.com and actually reserve tickets to see Terry Tempest Williams. So this is her most recent book. It's called The Glorians. It just was released in March, but Terry is a naturalist and environmental writer. She's actually the first nonfiction writer we've had as a keynote, which is super exciting. She's been writing for many, many years, and this is her most recent publication. It's about her writing with her students during the COVID virus, but it's really interesting because she starts with her students. They're all together. She teaches at the Harvard Divinity School, and then they all get separated and go home. And so they're writing about their experiences and their place, their connection to their places where they come from. And so then they come back together. So it's really interesting. It's a really interesting way to explore something we all went through as a society. So
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
I would imagine very interesting. I always think it's interesting to hear about how other people experience the thing that we all went through.
Yeah. That's what I like about this. I'm about halfway through, so I'll definitely be finished by the time Terry gets here. But we're all getting really excited. All of our panels are finalized. All of our authors are booked. Their hotel rooms are finalized. So they're coming. So the day of the panels is Saturday, the 18th.
Okay.
So we have some really interesting panels this year. So if you don't know, the Unbound Book Festival is set up so that we have thematic panels. If you don't know an author's name, you might still try it out because you're interested in a topic. So we have one on beekeeping this year. We have one on Jane Austen. So if you're a Jane Austen fan, that's Janet Saidi is a local writer. We have one about disappearing acts, so modern literary disappearing acts. We have actually one, Wright Thompson is an author. He's a journalism school grad, but he recently published this work called The Barn, and it's a secret history of murder in Mississippi. It's about the barn in which Emmett Till was murdered, and how it just stands there kind of without any proclamation of the history that happened there. And so he explores history and place from that perspective. So it's a really fascinating read. But Wright also has another book called Pappyland, which is about bourbon. So he's kind of a pretty diverse journalistic writer. He'll be really interested, but he's talking on both of those topics. So we have one on bourbon and spirits, and then one on secret histories of where we live. So.
Okay. And one of your other panelists is joining us here today.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and via Zoom, we have Lisa Knopp. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
How are you? And you are joining us to talk about your book called Bread, a Memoir of Hunger. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, I wrote this book largely in 2014 and 2015, and then Missouri published it in 2016. And it is a combination of personal story and a lot of research. So it's a book that does two things at once. It's a memoir, it's an illness narrative, and it's a spiritual autobiography. It was a book I didn't want to write. I've had three episodes with disordered eating, and I had largely forgotten the first two, just some denial there. And some life events caused me to remember that. And when I don't understand something, I research and write about it. And that's what I did. And honestly, it was the most fascinating research I've ever done in my life, researching the many causes of eating disorders. We live in a culture that wants to blame it all on diet culture and celebrities, but it's much, much more complex than that. And I showed the essay, I wrote about that to a couple friends, and they both said, "You've got a book here." And so I could once they said that I could see it, I saw the chapters there and just started unpacking it and going more deeply into the personal story in some ways that make me a little uncomfortable, and then much deeper into the research. And I do want to say, I'm not an expert on this subject. I'm just a person who's done a lot of research and is pretty fascinated. So, and the research is from 2014 and 2015. So it's not, it doesn't maybe reflect what researchers are doing now.
Okay.
But that's the book.
Okay. Okay. And when is your panel, Lisa?
It's
At
actually
some point on Saturday, I believe. I don't know an
Saturday
exact.
afternoon.
Okay, Kerry.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Saturday afternoon. Thank
Saturday
you so
afternoon, I
much,
can tell you the
Lisa.
exact-
You are so welcome.
It's actually at 1:30 Saturday afternoon at the Nightjar Collective,
Okay.
which is a new arts collective here in downtown Columbia.
Wow. Okay. That sounds very, very interesting, and interesting from the perspective from somebody who's actually gone through it.
Sure.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So what else do you have for us on Unbound?
Let's see. So Lisa's panel is a good example. She's in conversation with a professor in the English department, but she will talk about situate our current diet culture, like not necessarily diet culture, wellness culture, just bringing Lisa's research from 2014 and 2015 into a modern context.
Okay.
So that's a really fascinating thing about the festival is the moderators are often very versed in the topic in which they're going to talk about. So we actually have a Pictures of the Year, which is another journalism school program panel, and that's going to be at the Big Ragtag, also in the afternoon on Saturday. The actual final schedule will be published on the Unbound Book Festival later this week. Again, April 16th through 19th. Get your tickets at our website today.
Unboundbookfestival.com.
Thanks.
All right. Well, we hope everybody goes out. Sounds like lots of interesting topics.
it's
Thank
gonna
you
be
so
good.
much, Kerry.
Thanks.